welcome to English Club TV. I'm Ashley Jenkins.
And I'm Holly Holborn, and this is our guest today, Dr. Erin Fouberg. Our first question for you today is, can you describe your path to becoming a professor? What made you want to become a professor?
Actually, Girls State. South Dakota Girls State. Did you guys go to South Dakota Girls State?
Nope.
No.
I went to Girls State, and I'm kind of a geek, so I liked all the politics of it. And then the next year, I got to come back as a counselor, a junior counselor. And there was something that had to be taught, and the senior counselor didn't really want to teach it and didn't really know how to teach it. And I was like, can I try? And I taught, it was something about like county commissions or something dreadfully boring. And that was the first time I ever wanted to teach, because I explained it in a way that some of the girls got it, and I could literally see like light bulbs going on in their heads that they were understanding what I was saying, and that's when I got addicted to the whole concept of teaching. That's the first time I remember thinking this would be really fun to be able to get people to understand stuff that they don't think they can understand. And so I got addicted to the concept of teaching. But I didn't go into college thinking I wanted to be an educator at all.
Okay, so I'm ill-informed. What is Girls State?
Girls State is a program run by the American Legion Auxiliary for juniors in high school.
Okay.
Come and learn about how your government works for a week. Yes, so it's a special group of 400 people who really like politics and government. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
But then I went to college in Washington, D.C. at Georgetown because I like politics and I like international relations, and I really thought I wanted to be a senator, like a U.S. senator representing South Dakota. That was my goal when I went to college, and I studied international relations and international politics.
Okay.
Yep, and I didn't love it, which was shocking to me because I thought I would. I still like international relations and international politics, but I didn't like the international relations theory classes. So I took a political geography class and a geopolitics class, and those classes just reached me. It was like the sky opened up and the sun shone down, and I could see that was the way my brain thought about the world. And once it clicked, and I realized that I loved geopolitics and political geography, then eventually I wanted to become a professor of that. So that's how it all came together in a short version.
There
But
you go.
it started with the first time I taught, and that was when I was a senior in high school. So
Cool.
Speaking of higher education,
Okay.
what is a memory from your undergrad days that stands out to you?
A memory from my undergrad days. Oh, that's a good question. I've got so many memories from my undergrad days. Maybe some of the most powerful ones was living in DC. I lived in DC from 1988 to 1992, and my university has a big stress or focus on social justice and volunteering, and I was involved in an organization that did a lot of volunteering. So I did a lot of things outside my comfort zone then that made me recognize and appreciate how lucky I am and how diverse people's lives are. And I don't think that's a perspective you necessarily get growing up in Brookings, South Dakota, where I grew up. So I worked at a homeless shelter, volunteered there once a week, a lot my junior year, and it was only for women and children, but that gave me perspective. I'd stay overnight from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. We'd make breakfast for them, and that gave me a lot of perspective, and it made me appreciate things a lot more. So that's a big memory I have. In terms of classes, I just remember the passion of my political geography professor, probably more than anything that he taught me necessarily. I just remember how excited he was about it, and I think that's part of what captured my attention was his excitement. And in terms of friends, we had so much fun, it's ridiculous, honestly. Lots of stories I can tell, but probably one that you all would appreciate because of the price of textbooks is we had this week between when finals were done for graduation, our senior year, and everybody there graduated in 4 years. So you would go through with everyone and you'd all graduate together. People weren't graduating in 3.5 years. We didn't have dual credit, you know, none of that stuff was around. There was barely AP classes when I was in high school. So everybody went through the 4 years together, graduated together, and then you had a whole week until, actually you had about 10 days from when finals were done until your graduation. And so we'd call it Beach Week, and a lot of students would just drive down the east coast of Florida to go to Beach Week, and I didn't think I could afford it. I didn't think I had the money, and I had this international law textbook that I wasn't going to sell because I loved the class so much. And my girlfriend came back from the bookstore and she's like, they just gave me $80 for that book. And I was like, I guess I'm going to Florida. And I marched over to the bookstore, sold it, and I was like, I got $80, I'm going to Florida, because we had already figured out how much it was going to cost per person today to go to Florida. So we drove down, and it was a lot of fun. We were only there for like 4 days, but that was a lot of fun.
Yes.
So got lots of good memories, but
See, books open world.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So speaking of geography, you teach a geography class that also counts for a science credit.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between that as opposed to like a history, geography class?
Yeah. So geography is the whole world, which is why I like it, because I get bored easily, but you can't get bored with geography because you have the whole world to study. So once you get bored, you can move on and you're still studying geography.
Okay.
Like you'll never know it all. It's not possible to know it all. But in the field, it's generally divided into two. So there's human geography, which is the social, cultural, historical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's physical geography, which is landscape, landforms, weather, climate, all of that stuff. And so the science class I teach is about atmosphere, weather, climate, landforms, where the glaciers were, what they did, what happens in rivers, how they carve paths, and that's super exciting stuff.
Do you talk
And so
about
there's a lab with that, and the lab that the students really like the best is there's a stream table. It's probably 7 feet long and like 2 feet wide, and it's got a hose hooked up to it and everything, and a pump, and it rains on the top, and you can make different rivers. And yeah, the students, and I put Monopoly houses on it, and they flood people out, and they really enjoy that one. So it makes you understand visually what a floodplain is, and some of those concepts you've heard a bunch of times, but you never really think about why things are the way they are. So
Well, I'm
it's a fun
from
class.
Arizona, and so the Grand Canyon and the monsoon that we
Grand
have.
Canyon's really cool. It's because there was a tectonic uplift that made the Colorado River run really fast,
Yeah,
and that's what cut it.
it's just humongous.
Yeah,
Just a big hole in the ground.
exactly.
You also are involved with the Honors Program,
I am.
and the Honors Program hosts the Common Read every year. Can you tell us about the process of choosing the book?
Yeah, so we've been around, the NSU Common Read has been around for 8 years. It was a deal where a lot of people were talking about it on campus, and sometimes I just do things until someone stops me. I just thought it was right. I thought we needed to have a Common Read. Nobody was going to pay someone to create a Common Read. No one was creating a committee to create a Common Read. I thought, well, how much do I have control over? You know, what can you actually control? And I could only control what the freshman honors students were reading. So I decided, well, we're all going to read the same book. That's how we'll get started. So that's how it started. So
Okay.
the 2 freshman honors sections of seminar read the same book. And then we did like a discussion with President Smith when he was here before. And we had and Connie Smith, his wife, who's also a professor. And we had a discussion with them and the students, and they had dessert and coffee and did a book discussion, kind of like a book club discussion. And then we invited a speaker to campus about the book. And then the next year we did again. And those 2 books, the first book was really good. It was Ted Conover. He was a wonderful speaker. He was our first Common Read speaker, and he was really outstanding. But the way we picked him is I said to President Smith, I really, really, really want to do this. We need to bring a speaker to campus. It's important that students hear from authors, talk to people, listen to people, read about people doing amazing things to sort of open up their own worldview, that lots of things are possible for them too. And so he said, okay, you can have $3,000. And I said, okay. So I called a speaker's representative I found online. I said, I need your best $3,000 speaker. So that's how we ended up with Ted Conover the first time. But Dr. Haller is a huge fan of Ted Conover. So she was super excited. And he was just wonderful. He was so lovely and generous with his time and really kind to people. And then the next year we had Charles Mann, and that was super academic. But what I enjoyed Charles Mann, but what I learned from it was too academic of a book, that the students didn't want a book that academic.
Right.
And then the next year we had Outcasts United, and that was really the first year that it spread beyond honors.
Okay.
That was Warren St. John, and so a lot of the first year seminars, a lot of those IDL 190 and IDL 101 classes read it then, and then we just kept spreading from there, and it's always just been an option. So I believe this is the first year where every single freshman seminar read the book. Yeah, with Just Mercy.
Interesting.
And it was just everybody, it just sort of
Snowballed. Yeah. So to clarify, you first find
well,
an
in the past we
inexpensive-
found, the very first
Okay.
time we found the inexpensive speaker.
Okay.
Now what we do, this year we're in the midst of choosing our speaker for next year. What we've done for the last 5 years since Warren St. John, or 6 years I guess it's been, what we've done is we have a committee,
Okay.
a common read committee, and anyone's welcome. You are welcome to join it. Anyone's welcome on it, and we start with a giant list of any book anyone wants.
Okay.
It doesn't even have to be an author who's living, because we figure if it's that good of a book, we can maybe find someone to speak to the topic.
Like an expert, like
Yeah.
if you took a Bronte
Yeah.
and then have Dr. Haller,
Yeah.
even though everybody knows
Yeah.
Dr. Haller.
Yeah,
Okay.
that kind of thing.
Okay.
Or like this year where it was about Just Mercy, but the speaker was not the author. It was someone who was freed from
Mhm.
death row in Alabama.
Someone who would.
Experienced it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now we have a giant list of books, and we just last week had everybody who's on the committee, and I think it was 20 people voted their top 10. They didn't give them in rank order, so if they gave them a top 10, then my honors GA grad assistant created a spreadsheet for that of any book that got votes. And now the cream is starting to rise to the top. There's probably 20 books that are still in serious consideration for next fall.
Okay. So it's narrowed down.
It gets narrowed down over time. And now my responsibility next week is to find the speaker rep for the ones I don't know how much they cost. And if they're $75,000 or a really expensive person, we're not going to be able to bring them. Or some, The Alchemist. Did you ever read that book? Brooke Nelson was really excited about that book, but I contacted the speaker's rep, and he doesn't do speeches.
Okay.
And then there was another one who will not travel from England. He only does speeches in England. So there's some things like that that eliminate certain books.
Okay.
I know my freshman year we read a fiction book.
Did you do Ready Player One?
Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you try to mix it up every year?
So right now
or-
people are advocating for a fiction book because we've had 2 nonfiction books in a row.
Mhm.
So we're hearing a lot of, we need a fiction book.
Well,
But that doesn't mean we'll necessarily pick a fiction book. It's almost always been consensus. Eventually you get to a point where everyone's like, yeah, I think that's the way to go. Because after we find out how much they are and then whether we can afford them and eliminate some people that way. Because all the funds come from student activity funds. I would like the foundation and President Downs is starting to work on it to fundraise to endow the Common Read speaker. So we
Okay.
had a set budget. So I knew we can afford a $20,000 speaker every year, or we can afford a $15,000 speaker every year, whatever it is, but we would have to have it be endowed to know exactly how much. Right now we just put in a budget proposal and ask for
Okay.
and hope that we pick
Goes
someone
through,
that's
yeah.
within there, and so far it's worked. We have a set of goals and themes. We want the book to question students' assumptions. We want the book to be broad enough that different themes can be discussed with it. We want it to be attractive to all students so that it's not just attractive to males or just attractive to females or just attractive to athletes or just attractive to nerds, or you know what I mean? Like
Right.
we want everybody to find something in it.
It's a
be something.
common read,
Yeah.
not a target read.
Yeah, exactly. Very good, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not easy. The first couple of years I was really passionate, like, oh, I hope everyone chooses this book. And the last couple of years I'm kind of like, whatever book we choose is going to be pretty awesome. You know, it'll be, and so at the end we'll start to watch videos. We'll look for videos online to see if the speaker's really dry or not dry, or
Okay.
and I'll ask. Those are phone calls you can make. They won't email it, but when you call speakers reps, you can say, is this person actually good? Because you're just paying a lot for them to come speak, and so you want it to be something that someone can walk away learning something even if they didn't read the book. Like if you went this year, Anthony Ray Hinton can inspire anyone whether you read that book or not. So
Thank you for joining us on English Club TV, and we'll see you next time.
thanks.